today we are looking at the new Alcatel One Touch Sonic from Straight Talk. This is an LTE device, so you get the fast data on this phone. It is GSM, so that service will be provided by either T-Mobile or AT&T. More than likely, it will be AT&T. So before you go out and buy this phone, make sure you have AT&T coverage in your area. If you want to use, or if you need the LTE, then make sure you have LTE coverage again in your area. Now this phone retails for $179.99 and it's got quite impressive specs for the price. I would say this is probably the best phone spec wise for the money that they've offered to date. You get a large 4.6-inch diagonal screen. You get a 5-megapixel digital camera with built-in LED flash, and it also does have a front-facing camera that you can see there. And one of the more impressive items is a 1.4 dual-core, 1.4 gig dual-core processor, which is about the fastest that they've had on a phone at this price range. So again, for $179 you get quite impressive specs on this phone. Now the Android version is 4.1, which I believe goes by Jelly Bean. I've kind of forgot if that's Jelly Bean or the one previous to that, but it's 4.1, so it's a fairly new Android version. So the phone will perform quite nicely. And just playing around with it so far, I've found that everything is quite fast on this phone. It's very responsive to the touches, and the screen resolution and the clarity is also pretty impressive. And I'll also note that it has excellent sound quality too. But we'll show you that in a bit. We'll go ahead and measure it now. So again, this has a 4.6-inch screen, so as you can see, this is a fairly large device. It measures over 5 inches tall and 2 3/4 wide. This is probably one of the largest phones that they've offered to date. That's not the Samsung Galaxy type phones. Of course, those are, sell for well over 300, some of them well over 400. This one's only $179, so this is an excellent phone for the money. Even if you don't have LTE in your area and you just are happy with 3G, then this might be a phone worth considering. Now, for measuring it, the screen, as I said, is 4.6 inches or so. And there we have it. It comes out to 4.61. So, as advertised, a 4.6-inch diagonal screen. The height on this one is 5 1/4. Width, as I said, is 2 3/4 more or less. And the thickness is 0.43. So it's not super thick, it's not ultra slim either, but I would just say it's probably just about the right thickness. And one thing I will say is that it is fairly light for the size, and the weight on this one is 5.5 ounces, which is fairly light for a phone this big. And again, this one, all plastic construction, plastic screen. It doesn't have much by way of fancy trim or anything like that on it. It's pretty much a semi-gloss black around the perimeter. You get a sort of rubberized battery cover. It's not the full velvety feel kind, but it is somewhat rubberized. And the layout is pretty straightforward. On the left-hand side here, there's no buttons or anything. On the bottom, you have the typical Android three button layout. Of course, the buttons light up when you press them. They backlight just as most of these do. And on the top, you have the 3.5mm iPod variety type headphone jack There's your power/lock button, and then of course your volume button there, and your charge port on the bottom right hand corner. Now, as far as the software that comes on this, or the apps and whatnot, it's pretty much standard stuff. Of course, you get Google Maps, and on this phone it works very well because it's quite responsive. So as you can see, everything is very smooth on this map, at least as far as recognizing the touches go and whatnot. And it does have GPS capabilities, of course. Now, also included here is, of course, YouTube. And this works excellently on this phone because the screen is quite large, so the videos look great on this. I'll go so far as to say that this is probably one of the best looking screens I've seen to date on these mid to entry level phones. It's got excellent resolution on this. And another cool thing that I will mention is that the phone has excellent sound quality. As you can see, the speaker isn't concealed as it is on some of these other phones. You have it right there, and it's got the openings to it, so it sounds great for the money. So there's YouTube.
Why has Porsche been competing in motorsports for more than 6 years?
And of course you have your Google Play Store for downloading apps. You will need a Google account, of course, to download apps. If you're new to Straight Talk and or Android for that matter, all your apps are billed by Google if you buy the paid variety. So Straight Talk has no involvement on the apps. Everything in any app is open to the phone. Of course, you know, paid apps you'll pay, free apps are free, and that's really all there is to say about that. And finally, as far as extras go, you get a couple little extras on this phone that come pre-installed that you don't have to download. For example, this LED flashlight. Not common. I've not seen one pre-installed in another Straight Talk phone. You also get AM/FM radio on this, and that's a good thing to have because it's not an app. The phone has a built-in AM/FM receiver, so in case of an emergency where you have no cell phone coverage, this will still work. You will need headphones to get it to work because it uses the headphones as the antenna. And I think that about covers it as far as the stuff worth mentioning here. Everything else you see is fairly standard stuff, which I don't typically use, but all the standard Google stuff is here. And lastly, we'll go ahead and show you the phone dial pad. It's pretty standard. And again, this phone is very responsive to touches, so you're not going to have any problems with that whatsoever. And there's your texting interface. The phone does come pre-installed with a swipe keyboard. You could change to just a standard keyboard or use it as a standard keyboard if you want. It's got the auto rotate just like any other phone. Note that if you buy this phone, you will need to enable the auto rotate feature because it comes disabled out of the box. And one thing to mention on the texting interface, especially when you have it on landscape mode, is that the keys or the key icons are quite big, so you'll have no problem as far as texting on this phone goes. Great phone for texting, I would say. And I think that about covers everything on this phone. I'll give this 2 thumbs up because it's an excellent phone. It's not the best looking phone. There's nothing fancy about it. It's actually rather plain looking. But for the price, you get a ton of features, and rather high-end features for the price. Here's the box. As I said, 4.6-inch touchscreen, 1.4 gig dual-core processor, 5 megapixel camera with front-facing camera, etc., etc. So for $179, this is an excellent phone. You're not going to get a better phone for that price on Straight Talk. So if you're looking for a new phone, I would say, and you want a large screen to watch videos and whatnot, I would say this is an excellent choice, even if you don't have LTE coverage in your area.